Hello, welcome to Cloud Connect. How's it going,
How's it
Ryan?
going?
It's good. I laugh every time we start the stream here and we play the intro video. We can see each other in the background dancing a little bit.
It's a catchy song.
It really is. It really is.
Thank you to Royalty Free Music for sponsoring this episode.
Yeah, I mean, so we probably never talked about it, but we use StreamYard as a platform. They've got a pretty slick setup for having, little videos like that. Obviously, the background, video we've got for tech people. We're by no means AV experts, so StreamYard has made it pretty seamless to be able to have these live streams, but then also, of course, it records the content. Folks can go back and watch. And it's great because we can, send it out to LinkedIn, send it to YouTube, really all the platforms, right, you can stream to. So thought I would just talk about that. And then also we were joking earlier today when we were having conversations, we could also have a plug for Secret Lab. We're not official sponsors, but if they want to pick us up, we definitely would do it. I finally got a new office chair here over, I don't know how many years, 4+ years we've been remote. And I've been, just sitting in like your standard office chair. And I'm like, man, I sit here too much to not really think about ergonomics, take care of myself, right? So anyways, that's kind of another funny little bit. But anyways, let's talk some tech news. Let's talk Microsoft.
It's been a big month.
Yeah, big month for sure.
And we had Copilot Wave 2 hit this month, which is pretty exciting. A lot of new stuff there. A lot of stuff in the Office suite is finally available, which is good to see, including stuff that I'm never going to use, like Python integration in Excel. So if you do data analysis stuff and automation, there's a lot of really interesting stuff there. Again, it's one of the things, part of me was like, I should learn how to use it just so I can like test it out. And I was like, that's going to take a lot of effort. I'll wait until someone who actually like knows what they're doing gets involved in it. But the videos look neat. So it's always great to see that come up. And then what else?
Maybe I think Copilot Wave 2 stuff is interesting. And I just pulled up our announcement here, right? It was actually in September middle of September that we talked about, or at least the launch, right? For the Wave 2. Wonder if did it actually go live at that point, or was it here in October?
It was in October.
October. I think the one that really jumped out at me was the agents, Copilot agents. And I was just at a Microsoft Sales Tech Summit a week ago, 2 weeks ago in Dallas. And they had done some neat demonstrations of the tools on stage, kind of in a keynote fashion. And they had a bunch of Microsoft, sellers like myself, people that were demoing the product and like showing the different use cases. And the agents specifically really seemed to like take it to the next level when, hey, all of a sudden, you could have an agent that was like, one of the examples I think that we watched was, hey, I want you to kind of act as like the marketing person, and here's some information, spit out a marketing plan or just different things, right? And it was like, we're starting to have the technology really like take on a persona of somebody, their role, what they can help with. Obviously, it is, is it as good as somebody with a bunch of experience and all that? No. But for something with, I think within their like 5-minute demo, pull it up, have it, start getting stuff generated, ideas generated, having some actual like content to shoot out was was pretty impressive. So I think Brad Smith talks a lot about general purpose technology and how AI is really like this next general purpose technology that's in market. And I think when you just think of like, man, how does this look not only in the next 1, 2, 3, 5, but 10, 15, 20 years from now, like it's super interesting. Kind of makes you think about it, right?
Well, also, I mean, you mentioned this a little bit, right? It's fun to think about, right? Maybe it's not gonna. I mean, it's not. It's definitely not gonna replace an expert at this point. But the benefit is we're at the place now where you can get a start, and so that just starting that momentum is so helpful, right? Being able to like just jump into like, hey, I want to get started on this presentation, or I want to get started on a chat bot, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna be perfect on second one, but it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, what's going to happen, right, is you're going to get all this stuff lined up, and then you can start modifying stuff along the way.
Mm-hmm.
I thought about sharing my screen. So one of the things that came out in Wave 2 is also a OneDrive file comparison. So if you have multiple files, you can just tell OneDrive, hey, compare these, 2, 3, whatever many files. It just starts listing them out. This is going to out me a little bit. I'm super nerdy, by the way. For the D&D game I run, which I save everything on my OneDrive for work, because why not? But for that game, when I write post-session notes for players, I will write custom stuff for each player, because maybe they saw something someone else didn't. So I can actually use OneDrive and compare those two files and say, tell me what happened, right? Compare these two things. And it broke out this long narrative, like this, 6-page document into individual scenes.
Wow.
That were consistent across the different documents, explained the similarities, what was there, what wasn't there, what one player saw that another player didn't see. Huh. This is just a single click, off it goes. Wow. Which is just a crazy thing that, like, I don't think anyone trained it on D&D, right? Wizards of the Coast was like, let's get on that Copilot action. This tool is just like, yeah, cool. I'll figure it out. Let's go. And if I can do that this quickly for just a nonsense personal time thing, I really think what's going to happen is people start to use this in businesses, right? In your organization. What does this mean? If you have a couple big contracts, even. Yeah. What's the difference here? So,
well, I think that's the biggest thing, right? And we even obviously internally and tech enthusiasts, and it's just trying to figure out like, what's the change in behavior that I have to have, or where do I have to think about things differently, right? It's as basic as like, how do I reprogram myself? And we'll use Outlook as the example. How do I reprogram myself to, at the end, on a Monday morning, not just go through and look at every single email, right, that I got after the week and triage them like I normally do? Like, how do I get myself to reprogram and say, hey, like, using our tools, having Copilot help, generative AI in general, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's the thing that, like, we're just creatures of habit, right? And we don't like to change. We like to do what we do. That's the point where, like, when we finally start to have that shift, then the little scenarios like you talked about, yeah, it maybe seems like a little quirky, like, hey, this is something I did for my personal hobby. But then all of a sudden you like realize, oh, wow, what could I do in a business aspect? Or like, what are even the new ideas or like solutions that people haven't thought of that this can be used for? That's what I really get excited about. It's like the tech is the tech, but the tech isn't like what really makes the difference. It's like how we use it and how we think about it and how we implement it in our days that really like unlock the true value, right?
Oh yeah. And we've I think mentioned probably on here before, right? That like when you talk about Copilot and they go like, what does it do? And I go, I don't know. Like, what does it not do? Mm-hmm. At some point I said, no, this feature exists now. Compare files in OneDrive. Or The Copilot pages is another big thing from phase 2, where you can build these like collaborative living documents that Copilot just sort of exists in and can do all these extra things for you as part of it. I can tell you what I would do with it, but maybe that's not what you would do with it. And what you do with it could be entirely different. It could be transformational for your organization. And so I don't want to come in and go, yep, here's feature X and it does these 3 things. Because thing 4, I don't even think about. Like, it's not part of my mindset.
Yeah.
It could be what makes this amazing for you. And so I think a lot of times I kind of want to be like, I wish everyone just had it and you could just play with it. Right. I feel like just that initial piece of like, if you're looking at demoing Copilot, get a couple licenses in your environment to start trying out, give yourself the time and grace to just mess with it. Like, it's not like you're going to come in and go, I followed the business plan and did all 7 things we thought Copilot could do. Check. Just start playing around. I have a customer that generated songs for the Windows 11 rollout. Like these weird like surf rock songs that are really good, but all AI generated. They basically say like, hey, here's our plan. Like here's our document, what we're going to do. Make us a song about this. And off it went. Made the lyrics. They plugged that into a different AI thing. Another plug-in songs with it. Turned it into a real song. Neat, right? It was like some dude like 5 minutes to do this.
Right.
And now I've got this neat thing that like were they going to go pay someone to write a song for them? No. Right? Like
you never know.
I mean, I know, but it's done, right? It's out of the way. It's just it's super cool.
So what do you? I mean, obviously we talk about the tech, talk about the future. I mean, the thing that we're talking with a lot of customers today is like getting your information ready, getting your data prepared, getting your environment safe, secured. Obviously we'll talk about some Microsoft things here. Like, I mean, the amount of compliance conversations we've been having, the amount of like, again, getting the house in order as you prepare. I mean, we're having them like on the daily, right?
I think that in my mind, that's what's so interesting. I feel like we've all been on like both sides of sales conversations, right? Where you show up and you're like, hey, you need product X because I think it'd be great for you. And we have people coming to us and saying, like, we need Copilot, or our elected officials or the board of directors, someone, right, is saying they need Copilot. How do we get it up and running now? And I think across the board, what we're hearing from Microsoft staff is neat. What are you doing to protect yourself first? Right? I think it's a really important distinction to make, is that the product's incredible, but like you being able to govern your data and protect that is a really critical first step. Make sure you're doing this right. And we would rather you do it right. If you just go out willy-nilly and do it and it goes wrong, right, the chance you're going to that once bitten, twice shy thing is going to kick in, right? So things like Purview, right? Get involved with all your data management stuff that you have access to through Microsoft. Start having those conversations. Figure out, can we block off a SharePoint site, maybe an HR internal site, so no one can try to find that stuff through Copilot? Yeah, do it. Right? Talk to us. Figure out what you can do to make your environment safer.
Yeah. Well, I think it's one of those things that like, and Purview is so interesting where, of course, it's going to help manage and govern, your M365 data, cloud data. It's going to help for if you're using Copilot, right? Microsoft's generative AI solution. But for the other, Gen AI solutions that are out there, because there's a bunch, right? There's a ton. Like, we want to have some control, some management over those too. And Purview will do this, right? So I think like it's just been so interesting, the conversations we've been having with customers. I'm of course very security focused. I love talking about Microsoft's Defender products, our XDR solution. But like when I think of, when we're talking to customers, we think of M365 G5 or M365 E5. Like now it just seems more obvious than ever of like, man, you talk about just like checking all the boxes of, okay, yes, you get the security pieces, you got the compliance pieces, telephony. I think that's something we can talk about here in a moment, right? We've been seeing that a ton. Like, obviously, we're drinking the Kool-Aid. We're Microsoft employees, but like,
the Kool-Aid's pretty good though.
If I take that hat off, I mean, it just makes sense, right?
Well, I was that guy before I came here, right? I was the person who had to weigh everything we did, right? Does this product make sense? Does it make sense to have it in the same bundle as the rest of our products, right? Do we want to try to split that? You mentioned a little bit about the security. There's other generative AI products. How are you managing your data for those? In my newsletter this week, there was a real good link about these 10 immutable security laws, which I really liked. It feels a little old school to have this list of this, but number 2, I think, is relevant here, which is security only works if the secure way also happens to be the easy way. And so if you tell your users, hey, Copilot's secure, but you have to no, we're not here if you're going to do licenses, they're going to go use something else.
Yeah.
Right? Or maybe you lock it down. You use Defender for cloud apps and you lock down access to all generative AI things, including Copilot. No one can use it until we figure it out. Well, they're going to go home and do it at home on their home computer instead. Right? They're going to email that file to themselves and then do it. No, are you watching for that sort of stuff? I don't know.
Ryan, say that. What was that point again? Say it again.
So security only works if the secure way also happens to be the easy way. Right? So, because
like you said,
I can make any environment
so like foundational.
Yeah,
but it's true, right?
Users will find a way, right? They are the Jurassic Park of your environment. Don't let the T-Rex get out, right? Make security a fundamental part of the environment, but also make it so that the things they need to do can be done easily and securely.
Yeah.
Because the more barriers you put in place, the more likely they are to write a password down or, share computers, whatever. Like just because they have their own work to do. Security isn't going to be their number one thing. So we're trying to get the tools in place to help. That's one of the big things. We talked a little bit about the Copilot stuff. We had some other big news this month.
I hope you're
Gartner released new stuff, right? So we're number 1 in unified communications, desktop as a service, some new stuff with the Defender suite that came out, right, in terms of like rankings. Things like Defender for Server is 30% faster than all of its competitors at finding and eliminating threats. There's a lot happening. I think a lot of stuff, as you said, kind of builds up in a way that is meaningful for us.
Yeah.
But also, technology continues. Office 2024 came out this month, which it's 2024, so it makes sense. But it just feels wild to say that number out loud.
One thing, going back to that security bit you talked about. So I think it was either in the last day or two, we had published a blog, I think, about some Midnight Blizzard, things we've been seeing regarding like really targeted spear phishing we're seeing. And you go back to that like statement you made about, making things secure, but it's got to be easy. Like the amount of organizations still that don't have MFA enabled is mind-boggling. And I get the pushback, right? Hey, it's the end users. They want to do their job. They want to make it easy. We got going back to what was the statement you just said? It has to be easy.
Yep.
Well, there's solutions today. There's things we can do that make it easy, make it safe, secure. Obviously, internally, we're using Windows Hello, right, to get into our endpoints. We've got MFA Authenticator app on our phones, but you could use FIDO2 keys. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can use.
Oh, yeah.
With the conditional access policies that are set up. You look at device health, you look at, the history, historical, hey, what's Grant doing? What's Ryan doing? Does this look odd? Like, I really don't get that many MFA requests, right?
Well, that's
unless something weird is happening, but then it's not, and the system knows it.
Well, it's part of that seamless nature of what we're trying to do, right? The goal is make identity the place we're going to fight the battle. So it's not the firewall anymore. It's not on necessarily even on the device itself. It's who are you as the user and what do you have access to? Right? Because someone gets hold of my computer, it doesn't matter. They can't get through my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I think organizations that don't have it, a lot of times it ends up being a lot of like, organizational momentum. They're just worried about it. They don't know if they have the right licenses, the right, experience to work on that. Microsoft we can help with all of that. And you can turn on MFA for free for everyone in your environment right now. Everyone can. Problem is you can't do conditional access, which is a big part of making it easy without certain licenses. But you probably have those licenses too, right? So like, if you're wondering about it, talk to us.
Yeah.
Right. It's an easy conversation.
If you're an M365 user, it doesn't matter if it's F3, E3, G3, E1, not E1, excuse me, E5, right? G5. If you're in the academic space, it doesn't matter. If you're on the M365 SKU, you have it.
Yep. And you may, maybe you're using like Okta or Duo. There are ways you need to be careful, and not that they're not valid MFA products, but you need to make sure that you're using those as an external authentication method and Entra ID, because what happens is they just tell Entra ID, hey, yep, this is Grant, go ahead and let him in. But they don't tell Entra ID that you passed an MFA prompt unless you set it up as external. There's some nuance there for that piece, but let's we can make this work. And you're right, it blocks. It's like 99.9% of identity attacks get stopped by MFA. There are users who just hit approve for every sign-in request they get. Do some training, tell them not to do that. But if it does happen, guess what? We've got conditional access policies that pay attention to that. Right? Oh, like how did Grant sign in, in Moscow and where he lives? That's weird, right? There's that impossible travel report. Let's dig into this. Alert IT, do some.
I've actually cloned myself so I can be in two places at once.
That's how Microsoft stays so innovative.
Our FTE, there's actually two of us that are always working around the clock. Well, I think the other thing we should talk about, now that we're on this kind of M365 E5 talk track, you brought it up, telephony, unified communications. Like, it's just funny how it seems like when we work with customers, when you talk with them, again, it's very security focused, it's very compliance focused. And then a lot of times we were just like, oh, and by the way, like, if you want to use Teams phone system, hey, it's included. Like, yeah, it's nice. And, a lot of folks have either things on premise that they've had for a long time, or they're using, a third party, Zoom or maybe, WebEx, things like that. But man, we've been seeing a big shift, a big wave in interest, at least with our customers. We obviously, are using the tools internal, and it's amazing how important communication is, right? Not only internally, but then with the external world, right? Whether it's your customers or whatever. So I think that's something that just like, man, talk about like everything under the umbrella, right? A Microsoft umbrella. Well, hey, you're probably using Teams in some capacity anyways. Your team, your folks are.
Yeah.
I mean, having that.
It runs, maybe you're just doing it for chat, right? Or just doing it for the team part, like the actual, the teams, right? Or maybe you're doing it for meetings. You attend to the telephony piece. I feel like over the last 3 or 4 years, it's gone from, people would mention it almost jokingly, and now we're getting so many people who reach out to us and will say, hey, our Cisco environment's coming for replacement soon. We're really considering moving away from that. And part of it is they're realizing the cost to manage, maintain some of these older systems is really impactful, right? Full-time staff have to manage physical servers, who manage multiple, portals you have to get to, especially with Cisco, to do stuff. Whereas with Teams, it's all one place. You can automate so much of it, and it's so easy to do. I'm not gonna definitely gonna mention names. We had a customer who lost part of their phone system over the weekend, this last weekend, and ended up calling. We got like brand new licenses, a Teams phone system set up for them within like an hour and a half, for some critical services they needed people to get access to. Didn't have licenses to begin with. We just bought some new licenses right away in the portal, up and running. What's next? Right? Like it's so convenient. And the features have been adding along the way. Things like there's like even like the new maps that are available with hot desking. So if you've got staff who, maybe they don't have an office, they come into the office and sit at a desk somewhere, and that's where they're going to work for the day. You can set up Teams so it knows what desk it is, and they plug into the dock, and it updates their location. Hey, Ryan's now, in building 2 at desk 23. So I plugged into that desk. I unplug my computer and walk into a conference room. Now it knows I'm not at that desk anymore. Right? And you can have a map that flips, green, red. That desk is busy because I know someone's there, kind of stuff. There's like these new features are coming up in a way that's just, I said, super cool. Stuff that like we've been waiting for years. And for a while it was catch up to Zoom, catch up to these other people. And now it's sort of like, we've just gone in such a neat direction with it.
Yeah.
Right. If you're looking for phone system or for collaboration tools, why are you not, if you're not looking at Teams already, at least take a look.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a lot to really impress you with it.
Oh, agreed. Well, we've been going here for 27 minutes. The time has flown by. We had a bunch to talk about. I've had fun. I think you and I, I think we're going to try to get maybe a weekly stream here, at least through the end of the year.
Yeah.
We'll have to look at the calendar.
And the hope is keep it conversational, right? There's going to be, and Ignite's coming up here in a couple of weeks. That's going to be huge, right? There's going to be a lot of stuff to talk about, new stuff coming out, what's already happened. We didn't talk about Windows 11 24H2 and all of this came out with that. Right? A lot of this happened this month that we didn't really get a chance to chat about just because there's so much going on. Right? But I think it's something we can, we could talk, as much as we talk anyways throughout the week. This is just sort of a continuation of what we're already doing. So
yeah, the only one
we'll be here next week too.
Yeah. Oh, next week will be a good one. As I'm just looking at the calendar, we'll have to figure out if the 27th, if anybody's going to be around. We can of course always record one beforehand. 27th of November, right? So obviously Thanksgiving the next day. Yeah. But otherwise, it's looking pretty.
I was like, what's happening next week that we're not going to be around?
Pretty promising all the way up to the end of the year. So it's always fun. We're going to keep it rolling. We're excited. Yeah. I think obviously there's lots to talk about, and obviously anybody that's listening live or catching the recording after the fact, feel free, of course, to shoot us questions, shoot notes. What do you like? What didn't you like? What do you want to hear more about? We're trying to, of course, do our best to not only stay informed for our perspective and for our roles we do on a daily basis, but any information that we can share, clarity that we can provide is what we like to do, right? We like to help folks. So
exactly.
All right. Well, thanks, Ryan.
Yeah. Thank you.
Have a great day.